Hey guys, it's ChannelBK. Welcome to another review. This one is probably the last late review. I do apologize for that, but it's for the new Young Fathers album, White Men or Black Men 2. I do apologize in advance too if the lighting gets all messed up throughout this thing because it's really bright right now. Young Fathers is a Scottish trio alternative hip-hop pop group. This is actually their second major studio release, and this is sort of my first time hearing them, but I did want to dig back into their stuff, so I did. They had two tapes, respectively tape 1 in 2012 and tape 2 in 2013, and I believe those were like actually EPs and whatnot. And then early last year they followed it up with their big studio release, Dead, and I know it won them a bunch of prizes and awards, but it also was sort of a divisive thing for fans of the group. And again, when I was digging back into them after listening to this album, I did jump around the two tapes and I enjoyed what I heard, but honestly, Dead just didn't really do it for me. It was a little bit more hip-hop and interesting pop elements, whereas obviously with this, it's a little bit more lo-fi, and I feel like it embraces a lot more of interesting pop and sort of soulful elements rather than Dead, which felt a little bit more upbeat and colorful. This had a lot more directions that it went with. But again, to be completely honest, I didn't know what I was going to expect because, again, I did go back and I wanted to hear a lot of their other projects, but to be honest, on first listen, I was entranced with this album. It took me a couple listens to even get to the lyrics because their vocal delivery was breathtaking. Like, it actually mesmerized me because their voices were just so great on this production as well as the production. It was so intriguing in terms of the weird percussive elements they used as well as certain instrumentation with like some weird guitars. There's a lot of heaviness to a lot of it, and there's just so many different directions that this whole album goes in. Now obviously the title, White Men and Black Men 2, kind of reminds me a lot of Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly, where they weren't really too preachy, because when I did dig into the lyrics and really understood what this album was about, it didn't really come off that way, and that was something that I found really great as well. But the fact that they weren't too preachy, they did some crazy catchy music. From Still Running, which is the opening, includes sort of like these nice little bells. There's some guitar riffs and some like weird percussive elements and just, you know, the still running. But at the same time, it's like lyrically on all these tracks, it's so catchy, but when you dig into it, you're like, wow, like this is a lot of deep stuff going on right now. Now this whole entire album like takes us on a roller coaster in terms of the sounds, and again in all these directions, because we start with Still Running, then we get to something soulful like Shame, and then we get to something really just dark and sort of eerie like Feasting. But in my opinion, this album just hit a stride with some of my favorite tracks, starting at 27, going to Rain or Shine, going to Sirens, going to Old Rock and Roll, and then ending it off with Nest. 27 has some nice percussive elements as well as some nice bells. And then obviously in the lyrics, you know, I'm 27 and I'm not in heaven, you know, it's just so deep. And then we follow that up with Rain or Shine, which sounds like, in terms of the organ or like the sound, it seriously could have been like the Addams Family like song. Like it just sounded so much like that when I first heard it, and I just thought it was great throughout the whole thing. But obviously in the second half there's more additional music that gets added to it, and I thought this was a great track. And then we get followed up by Sirens, which I think is personally my favorite track. It's just super minimalist and super simple, and all these like eerie bells and just the delivery and sort of what he's talking about on it. In my opinion, when it got to this, I was like, this album got me. And again, it just then gets followed up by Old Rock and Roll, which is just heavy and sort of a little bit monstrous, but it's not, because it's still kind of lo-fi, and the delivery on this, and again, the chorus, the ayo, yeah, oh, ayo, like it's just so catchy, but it's deep, and then all the interesting percussive elements and the beat, it's just great. And then we go to Nest, which is sort of like an uplifting sounding song, which follows such a like heavy song, which is Old Rock and Roll. John Doe, which has sort of this upbeat tempo and this like nice little bass line to it, and it has like sort of a nice snare drum, but it's not too loud and too abrasive. It just kind of nicely fits throughout the track. And then something like Dare Me, which has these nice organ sounds at the beginning, and then these heavy drums come in, but then just goes nasty as it goes into the song, including the finale, where it just gets super dark and just dirty, and just the delivery is just so eerie, just and then Get Started, which has like a nice piano lead, which then ends up into like more percussive and drums later on into the track. But to be completely honest, I love this album. Like I said, I think in terms of the actual production, I pretty much loved it throughout. The lyrics, not too preachy. There's such a great element to them and a great deepness, but it's also catchy and it's such an interesting listen and a fun listen, ironically. But you keep coming back to dissect as well as just to enjoy a lot of the catchiness to it. And again, there's so many great roots to it because there is still hip hop to it in terms of the delivery, but then there's great like R&B, soul, pop. It's all fused in and it makes a phenomenal album in my opinion. And to sort of go back and listen to some of their other stuff and to hear this progression, it's such a unique group, and they are such a unique group, excuse me, to sort of be in this sort of lane. Again, like looking at something like this, and again, To Pimp a Butterfly, I'm not comparing them, but sonically, delivery, and just overall, it's sort of like interesting to see that comparison from other people just in different cultures. And it's really great that I sort of like this album because again, going into it, I heard from many people and sort of like various websites that it wasn't really what you were expecting in terms of hip hop. But again, I think what I got was absolutely stellar and it just hooked me in right away. But if you guys listen to this album, what do you guys think of it? The ranking to the other Young Fathers albums or projects, leave all that in the comments below, as well as maybe some of your favorite tracks. Please like if you like this, and please subscribe if you want to see other music reviews, movie reviews, TV reviews, original stuff, hopefully coming soon. I hope this is the last late review. I'm sort of looking at albums after review, but you know what, if I can't find any, what are some albums I should check out or review? I still sort of have a list I have to get through, so I'll definitely get to that soon. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully the last late review. But this is me, ChannelBK. Peace out, guys.